It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. The words strike like steel against stone. You are standing before your own crowd every day, co-workers, friends, partners, strangers, and whether you realize it or not, they are measuring you. The enemy you face is not them. It is weakness, hesitation, and the hunger for approval that bends the spine of even the sharpest mind. Most people believe power is a coin with only one side. They assume you must choose: be gentle and adored, or be hard and respected. This false choice is the first trap. Those who fall into it drift between extremes, soft one moment, harsh the next, never stable, never commanding. Machiavelli's code reveals the truth. Strength comes from balance, from wielding fear and love like two blades in the same hand. Look at the modern arena. In companies, the bosses who last are not the ones who only chase affection, nor the tyrants who rule by intimidation alone. It is the leader who sets clear boundaries, delivers results, and still knows how to make people feel valued. Online influencers who dominate are not merely liked or controversial. They are both admired and unmovable, carrying an aura that commands respect even from critics. Your task is the same: to sit on your own throne of self-mastery and command, through presence, not pleading. The most dangerous assassin you face is inside. Indecision, the constant weighing of what others will think, cuts deeper than any rival's blade. When you hesitate, when you look for reassurance, you hand away your crown. Picture a meeting where someone disagrees with you. The weak path is defensive over-explaining. The strong path is calm acknowledgement, then a firm restatement of direction. Weak: I think maybe we should try this unless everyone feels differently. Strong: I hear your view, but we'll proceed with this plan. That difference is the throne itself. One voice bends, the other holds. Stop believing you must. Sacrifice authority for affection, or sacrifice affection for authority. That is the illusion of the powerless. Rule yourself first. Control the enemy within. Carry yourself with the weight of a sovereign who cannot be rattled, yet with the grace of one who values loyalty. The throne is yours if you claim it. Balance is power. Your mind is a throne. It is the seat from which every command is issued, every decision enforced, every boundary declared. If you allow confusion, fear, or distraction to sit beside, your rule is already compromised. Machiavelli observed that fortune favors the decisive, not the hesitant. The same principle applies to your inner kingdom. A ruler who cannot master his own counsel will never command an army. A person who cannot govern their own mind will never hold power in the world. The first battlefield of fear and love is within, and the crown rests only on the head of one who maintains clarity. Crown of clarity means you must know what you want and why. A ruler's counsel is made of advisors, each whispering different counsel. Your thoughts are those advisors. Some serve you, others deceive you. When you do not command them, they clash, contradict, and paralyze you. History shows that leaders who allowed endless debate without conclusion lost their kingdoms. In your life, the same happens when you drift between options, start projects without finishing them, or waver in your decisions. Clarity is not found in endless rumination. It is forged in choosing, in cutting through noise with the sword of decision. Command yourself, write your priorities, define your values, and return to them when doubt attempts to sway you. The throne tolerates no fog. Yet clarity alone is not enough. You must exile the traitors from your mental court. Doubts, fears, and imagined failures are not harmless visitors. They are conspirators, waiting for the moment to weaken your reign. Think of how many times fear of judgment stopped you from speaking, or doubt about your worth led you to silence when you should have acted. Each time you gave a seat at your table to an enemy, exile them. Weak: I am not ready yet. Strong: I may not feel ready, but I move forward now. Weak: what if they don't like me? Strong: respect or not, I will stand firm. Train yourself to identify traitor thoughts immediately. When they appear, strike them down with decisive counterstatements. Let no disloyal advisor remain in your presence. Inner sovereignty is the condition that follows. When your throne is secure, no external enemy can overthrow you. Modern life proves this every day. A person grounded in their own authority does not crumble under criticism at work. They do not chase validation in relationships. They listen, they weigh and they respond, but they do not beg or bend. Imagine a disagreement with a colleague. The insecure response is defensive, over apologizing, retreating. The sovereign response is a calm acknowledgement of their view, then a firm return to your position. This calm strength is the essence of being feared and loved simultaneously. You are respected for your steadiness and valued for your composure. Your mind can be either your strongest fortress or your most dangerous enemy. Discipline your council of thoughts. Cast out the traitors of fear and hesitation. Sit firmly on the throne of clarity, and no storm can shake your rule. The kingdom outside begins with the kingdom within. Rule the mind, and the crown is yours. Morning is the battlefield where the day is won or lost. The moment you rise, you are already engaged in combat. Sleep's fog is retreating, and the first thoughts that enter your mind are scouts deciding the terrain. Those who seize dawn command the hours that follow. Those who delay, drift, or surrender to distraction walk onto the field unarmed. Machiavelli reminded us that fortune favors the bold. The first strike belongs to the one who moves before others awaken, who plants his banner on the high ground while his rivals are still asleep. History shows that rulers, generals, and thinkers valued the discipline of dawn. Roman commanders rose before the sun to survey their camp and prepare their soldiers. Leaders across centuries practiced rituals that sharpened their minds before facing the noise of the day. Their morning was not random. It was a drill, a march, a deliberate act of control. If you look closely, you will see the pattern. The first hours are never wasted by those who hold influence. Their discipline is not glamorous, but it is decisive. They understand that the one who controls the start of the day already controls its momentum. In modern life, the ambush arrives differently. The arrows are not spears or enemy horses, but glowing screens, buzzing notifications, and endless feeds. The moment you open your phone, you are under attack. News headlines drag you into crises you cannot control. Social media floods you with images of lives you do not live. Email chains demand attention before your own priorities are set. If you step into this ambush unshielded, you are no longer commanding the day, you are reacting to it. Command yourself. Instead, do not reach for your phone before reaching for your purpose. Fortify the first hour. Establish silence before sound, movement before messages, clarity before chatter. When you treat the morning as a battlefield, your routine becomes your banner of victory. The simple act of rising early, training your body, writing your thoughts, or setting your plan is the equivalent of planting your flag on contested ground. Others may still be asleep, but you have already declared sovereignty. Even if challenges come later, your foundation is unshaken because you began from a position of strength. Imagine a day where before anyone demanded your attention, you had already trained, read, and defined your next moves. By the time the world knocks, you are fortified. Weak. I'll see what the day brings. Strong. I'll decide what the day will be. That is the language of command. The morning war is silent but absolute. Treat it as a drill, not a suggestion. Strike first, guard against ambush, raise your banner. If you win the dawn, you win the day. Seize the morning, seize the throne. Stillness is a weapon. It is not retreat, not passivity, not surrender. It is the blade held steady before the thrust. Predators know this truth instinctively. The lion does not roar while stalking. It moves silently, each step controlled, every muscle restrained until the exact moment of strike. That pause is not hesitation, it is calculation. The same principle applies to your life. When you control your stillness, you hold the battlefield in suspense. Others may rush, panic, and reveal themselves. You remain immovable, forcing the world to orbit around your composure. History repeatedly confirms the strength of silence. Sun Tzu wrote that the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting, and silence is one of the subtlest weapons in that art. Napoleon often entered a chamber without a word, yet his presence bent the room. Commanders across centuries have known that silence can be more forceful than 1,000 orders. Stillness radiates authority because it resists the pull of impulse. When others chatter, explain, or justify, the one who remains silent becomes the center. Machiavelli himself warned that appearances often matter more than truth. A ruler who appears calm and unshaken projects strength even when storms rage inside. Modern life offers countless arenas where this power is visible. In meetings, the person who interrupts least but speaks last with clarity holds disproportionate weight. In arguments, the one who resists shouting and instead answers calmly is seen as the adult in the room. Consider a conflict with a colleague who raises their voice and accuses you unfairly. The weak path is to mirror their energy, to defend in a rush of words. The strong path is to pause, meet their eyes, and respond with one deliberate line. I understand your view, and here is the direction we will take. That silence before the statement is as commanding as the words themselves. Weak. I didn't mean it that way, please let me explain. Strong. I hear you, this is how we move forward. The first invites attack, the second closes the matter. To weaponize stillness, you must practice it deliberately. Begin with your breath. Control it under pressure, and you control the pace of interaction. Guard your expressions. Do not let every thought reach your face. Restrain your tongue. The fewer words you waste, the more impact your chosen words carry. Remember that silence is not empty. It is full of tension, of possibility, of gravity. Use it as a shield when provoked, as a sword when delivering your decision, as armor when the crowd demands reaction. Stillness is presence sharpened into dominance. It is the sovereign's calm in the storm, the predator's patience before the leap, the strategist's pause before the decisive move. Silence is command. Power requires elimination. It is not gained only by what you add, but by what you remove. A ruler who clings to everything eventually commands nothing. The discipline of subtraction has always been the mark of those who endure. Machiavelli observed that rulers who fail to act decisively against disloyalty invite collapse. History shows that kings executed traitors not from cruelty but from necessity. To preserve the realm, they cut away the branches that threatened the trunk. Without pruning, the rot spreads. Without decisive action, the throne weakens. In your own life, the traitors are not always people but habits, distractions, and patterns that betray your highest aims. Elimination is not destruction for its own. Sake. It is protection of the crown. Cutting dead branches is the first act of sovereignty. Leaders throughout history knew that mercy shown to open betrayal often turned into a slow death for the realm. The lesson is not to seek punishment for minor flaws, but to refuse tolerance for clear disloyalty. Apply this same standard inward. The time you waste on empty obligations, the energy you spend on relationships that erode your confidence, the repeated habits that drain your strength, all of these are dead branches. They must be cut before they choke your growth. Weak. Maybe it will get better if I keep waiting. Strong. This is costing me strength and it ends now. The sword of elimination is heavy, but it is the weight of authority. Modern life makes pruning even more critical. Every message, every invitation, every demand competes for your time. Without the discipline of subtraction, your day becomes a battlefield with no commander. The ability to say no with finality is the shield that guards your focus. It is not enough to set goals. You must defend them. A calendar filled with obligations that mean nothing is a kingdom surrendered to invaders. True strength is found in refusal. When you decline what dilutes you, you reclaim energy for what builds you. A sovereign does not explain endlessly. A sovereign decides. Command yourself to eliminate what drains you, and the throne grows stronger. With every cut. Yet elimination must not be confused with cruelty. Mercy has its place, but mercy without judgment becomes indulgence. Allowing destructive influences to remain under the banner of kindness is not compassion. It is weakness disguised as virtue. Imagine a colleague who repeatedly undermines your decisions in front of others. The indulgent path is to excuse it, to hope they change. The sovereign path is to address it directly and set clear boundaries. Not every offense requires exile, but every pattern of disloyalty requires resolution. Compassion does not mean allowing harm to continue unchecked. it means protecting the whole by enforcing standards. Ruthless elimination is not about violence or malice. It is about clarity. Cut away betrayal as kings cut traitors. Subtract distractions with the discipline of command. Distinguish true mercy from indulgence that corrodes. Hold the throne by pruning without hesitation. What you refuse defines your reign. Machiavelli wrote that it matters less what you are and more what you appear to be. Perception is the true stage of power. The mask of command is not decoration, it is armor. When you step into any arena, boardroom, negotiation, or confrontation, you are already being judged. Others cannot see your full truth. They see your stance, your tone, your expression, your consistency. These signals form the image that determines whether you are respected, dismissed, feared, or admired. The sovereign understands that the mask is not falsehood, but a disciplined projection of authority. Without it, even genuine strength is overlooked. With it, strength is magnified. The stage of power has always belonged to appearances. History is filled with rulers who knew how to present themselves with majesty, even when resources were thin. Crowns, thrones, and ceremonies were not indulgences, they were weapons of perception. Machiavelli observed that rulers must cultivate appearances because the crowd sees more than it understands. In practice, this means that weakness displayed openly becomes contagious, while composure displayed consistently becomes revered. The battlefield of image decides allegiance long before truth is revealed. Your responsibility is to craft how you are seen, because appearances will be judged regardless of your intent. In modern life, social theater is everywhere. Clothes, voice, posture, and pace of speech are constant signals of sovereignty. Walkie. Into a room slouched, speaking too quickly, apologizing unnecessarily, and the crown slips before you begin. Walk in upright with measured tone and deliberate presence, and the room adjusts around you. Weak. Sorry, can I add something? Strong. Here's the point that matters. The first surrenders power, the second takes it without force. Even online, the same rules apply. The way you write, the clarity of your message, the consistency of your behavior, all form the mask that others respond to. Every interaction is theater, and the mask is the costume of authority. The dual mask is not deceit, but strategy. You may feel uncertainty, yet you project calm. You may wrestle with doubt, yet you hold your voice steady. This does not mean lying. It means refusing to hand your inner turmoil to the crowd. A commander who panics in front of his soldiers spreads defeat before the battle begins. A leader who appears steady under pressure inspires loyalty, even while carrying private fears. The mask does not erase your humanity. It shields it, allowing you to lead with clarity while handling your struggles in private. Protect your image, and you protect your authority. The mask of command is not optional. It is the sovereign's shield, the general's armor, the strategist's signal. Appearances shape allegiance, and allegiance shapes power. Wear the mask deliberately, and it will serve you. Neglect it, and you will be judged by masks you did not choose. Control the image, command the throne. Every throne requires an executioner. Power is not sustained by building alone, but by the ability to cut down what threatens it. History is filled with rulers who kept assassins close, both as literal enforcers and as symbols of decisive strength. Julius Caesar surrounded himself with men who carried out swift orders without hesitation. Alexander the Great eliminated conspirators before they could fracture his empire. These acts were not displays of cruelty, but demonstrations of resolve. A sovereign who cannot act decisively against betrayal invites decay. The lesson is clear. Authority requires the capacity to end weakness instantly, whether outside or within. Your own life demands an inner assassin. This is not a figure in the shadows, but the disciplined force that silences the excuses, the delays, and the indulgences that sabotage your reign. Every time you postpone action, you allow weakness to conspire. The assassin's role is to strike before hesitation takes root. Weak. I'll start tomorrow when I feel ready. Strong. I move now because waiting is defeat. Weak. I'll do it when conditions are better. Strong. Conditions are never perfect. execution makes them right. You must train yourself to hear the voice of excuse and eliminate it without trial. That is how discipline is protected and momentum preserved. Modern distractions make this role even more critical. In work, in relationships, in personal growth, delay appears more often than outright failure. You will not always be confronted by an obvious enemy, but you will constantly face small invitations to drift. Social media, unnecessary arguments, half-hearted efforts, all are daggers pointed inward. Without the inner assassin, they accumulate until your strength erodes quietly. The assassin is the voice that says no with finality, the command that shuts down weakness before it spreads. Protect your time, guard your focus. Do not negotiate endlessly with habits that already betrayed you. End them. Sometimes the hardest target is yourself. The weaker self must be eliminated for the stronger self to rise. This is not cruelty, it is transformation. A ruler cannot indulge the part of himself that seeks comfort over duty. A sovereign cannot allow indecision to sit in the council chamber. When the weaker self whispers, it is the assassin's blade that silences it. Imagine standing before a task you fear. The weaker voice begs to retreat. The assassin steps forward and cuts that voice down. You then act, not because you feel invincible, but because you refuse to let weakness rule your throne. This act of internal elimination is what allows growth to occur. You cannot build while protecting the very habits that keep you small. The inner assassin is not about malice. It is about discipline, speed, and clarity. Keep it close. Use it without hesitation. Aim it first at excuses, then at distractions, and finally at the weaker self that resists your own command. Without it, your reign collapses from within. With it, you hold the power to execute decisions instantly and preserve your authority. Kill weakness before it kills you. Within you lives a flock and a predator. The sheep is timid, waiting for safety, feeding on hesitation. The wolf is decisive, feeding on action, moving with instinct and authority. Which one you nourish each day determines your reign. Ancient cultures often spoke of this inner struggle in the form of beasts. Philosophers described the conflict between reason and passion, between courage and fear. Warriors framed discipline as taming the animal inside. The parable of two opposing forces, one weak, one strong, has appeared across traditions for a reason. Humanity has always recognized that character is shaped not only by what you build, but also by what you feed. Every choice you make is a meal offered to one of these beasts. When you act, you give meat to the wolf. When you delay, when you fold, when you surrender to fear, you feed the sheep. This battle is constant and ordinary. It is not fought on distant fields, but in your morning decisions, in whether you confront a difficult conversation, in whether you follow through on promises to yourself. Weak, I'll wait until I feel confident. Strong, confidence comes from moving despite fear. Weak, I'll let it slide this time. Strong, if it matters, I will enforce it now. The wolf grows only when you act. If you starve it, the sheep consumes the throne, leaving you hesitant, passive, and powerless. Modern life tempts you to feed the sheep daily. The distractions of comfort, the endless cycle of scrolling, the pursuit of approval, all reinforce timidity. The wolf does not thrive in comfort. It thrives in discipline, in risk, in controlled confrontation. To command yourself and others, you must be deliberate about which impulses you reward. Each time you say yes to weakness, you strengthen it. Each time you act despite doubt, you sharpen your predator instincts. The sheep promises safety but robs you of sovereignty. The wolf demands courage, but gives you command. To be both feared and loved. You cannot let the wolf consume without restraint. The predator that devours the flock eventually rules nothing but ruin. Strength must be balanced with restraint. The wolf must lead, not destroy. This means acting with discipline rather than aggression, with clarity rather than cruelty. A sovereign who is only a wolf is feared but never loved. A sovereign who is only sheep is loved but never respected. Balance comes when the wolf rules, firmly while protecting the flock. Your power is not just in domination, but in the stability you create by keeping fear and love in tension. A commander who carries authority without needless harm earns both loyalty and respect. Imagine a disagreement in a meeting. The sheep wants to avoid tension, to stay silent. The wolf wants to dominate, to crush the other voice. The sovereign path is controlled by wolves, calm, firm, and decisive. I understand your point, but this is the direction we'll take. This response feeds the wolf with action while protecting the flock with composure. It shows strength without recklessness, authority without cruelty. That is the dual instinct at work. You feed one of these beasts every day. The throne will not stay empty. Either the sheep or the wolf will sit on it. Choose deliberately which. Receives your strength. Every hesitation is food for weakness. Every act of courage is nourishment for command. Feed the wolf, rule the throne. Life is a chessboard, and every move you make either strengthens your position or exposes you to defeat. Power is not only about strength, but about placement, timing, and foresight. The greatest rulers and generals often won without brute force. They advanced by securing the right squares, by controlling the field before the enemy even realized the battle had begun. Machiavelli emphasized that appearances and positioning often outweighed raw ability. Those who master position master perception, and perception is what governs loyalty and fear alike. To rule both hearts and minds, you must see life as a strategy, rather than an accident. History offers countless stratagems where positioning decided victory. Hannibal did not rely only on numbers, but on placing his forces in ways that trapped superior armies. Napoleon gained advantage not by reckless charges, but by moving troops where they would cut supply lines and force surrender. Leaders who endure understand that brute force is costly, while intelligent placement multiplies power. The lesson for you is the same. The board is before you every day. Where you choose to stand, how you allocate time, which alliances you strengthen, and which conflicts you avoid, are all moves on the board of power. Modern life presents its own gambits. Negotiations are not battles of shouting, but of timing and silence. Careers are not advanced by sheer effort alone, but by knowing when to step forward, when to hold, and when to align with stronger players. Relationships succeed not through endless giving or harsh domination, but through calculated balance. Weak, I hope they notice my effort. Strong, I will make my contribution visible at the right moment. Weak, I must respond immediately to prove myself. Strong, I will wait, then strike with clarity when the time is right. The chessboard is not about reacting to every move, but about dictating the rhythm of play. The checkmate mindset requires anticipating several moves ahead. Those who think only of the present square become pawns in someone else's plan. Those who train themselves to imagine outcomes 5 steps in advance hold the power of foresight. This does not mean obsessing over every detail. It means cultivating vision. Before you enter a meeting, imagine the possible responses and prepare counters. Before you commit to a project, weigh where it will position you months later. Before you react in conflict, consider not only the immediate victory, but the long-term allegiance you may lose or gain. A sovereign sees beyond the next move. They see the chain of consequences extending across the board. Imagine a disagreement with a colleague. They press for their agenda, hoping you will yield quickly. The pawn move is to argue point for point. The queen move is to acknowledge their stance calmly, then redirect the discussion toward a larger objective that secures your influence. By lifting the focus above the moment, you strengthen your position without open conflict. This is strategy, not reaction. It is how respect is gained without unnecessary war. Life will test whether you are merely a piece or the one who directs the board. Command yourself to place each move with intent. Study position more than speed, vision more than impulse. Anticipate, calculate, and execute with precision. Think 5 moves ahead, and the board is yours. Discipline is the forge. Where power is shaped, rituals are the hammer striking the steel of your will until it becomes unbreakable. No throne is secured without them. Leaders throughout history understood that daily practice is what maintains authority when inspiration fades. The Stoics rose early to reflect on mortality and sharpen their judgment. Samurai warriors repeated the same drills endlessly, not because they loved monotony, but because repetition burned skill into instinct. Generals organized their mornings around inspections, reports, and routines that kept armies precise. These acts were not negotiable. They were the iron framework, holding the crown in place. Without ritual, even the strongest will corrodes. With ritual, the will becomes armor. In modern life, rituals carry the same weight. The gym is not just a room of weights, it is the battlefield where you condition discipline. Journaling is not only writing, it is consulting with yourself, reviewing the state of your kingdom and correcting courses before weakness spreads. Cold exposure is not about toughness for its own sake. It is a symbolic act of stepping into discomfort willingly, reminding yourself that you command the body, not the other way around. These habits are not about trends, they are anchors. They prove daily that you can command yourself before commanding others. Weak, I'll work when I feel motivated. Strong, my routine decides, not my mood. Weak, I'll reflect when I have time. Strong, I make time because reflection sharpens my rein. Every ritual is a line in your code written in steel. Your rituals are more than habits, they are sacred oaths. Abandon them, and the throne crumbles. A sovereign who neglects the daily drill slowly loses authority, first over self, then over others. The collapse does not arrive with noise. It arrives quietly when missed days turn into weak weeks, when broken routines become broken resolve. Ritual is your crown. Wear it, and you radiate stability. Remove it, and your command erodes. Imagine facing a difficult negotiation. If your rituals are intact, you carry the composure of one who has already endured a voluntary challenge that morning. If you abandon them, you arrive scattered, reactive, unanchored. Others can sense it. The difference between being respected and dismissed often rests in the unseen foundation of ritual discipline. You must treat ritual as non-negotiable. Build it carefully, guard it fiercely, and execute it daily. Do not wait for ease. Do not allow exceptions. These acts do not only serve your body or mind, they protect your authority. They are the drills of your private army, the ceremonies of your invisible court. When fatigue tempts you, remember that your oath is not to comfort, but to sovereignty. Do not break it. Every repetition of discipline is a hammer strike on the steel of your will. Every day you honor your ritual, the crown grows heavier, stronger, and more secure. Discipline is destiny. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler's reputation is a fortress stronger than stone. Armies can breach walls, but when reputation is fortified, it shields authority long after the battle ends. To become untouchable, you must build yourself into a fortress that commands both loyalty and fear. The untouchable sovereign is not the one who never faces attack, but the one who stands unbroken when arrows fly. When people see you as a fortress, they hesitate to test you and respect the stability you project. Untouchability is the crown's final defense, the ultimate state where presence itself discourages challenge. The first wall of this fortress is reputation. Machiavelli emphasized that rulers rise or fall not only by force, but by how they are perceived. Reputation creates fear in rivals and trust in allies. Leaders throughout history protected it as fiercely as territory. Once ruined, recovery is slow and costly. Protect your name by aligning action with word, by being consistent in both firmness and fairness. Never let short-term comfort damage long-term image. Reputation is not vanity, it is survival. A sovereign with a strong reputation commands loyalty, even when absent, and discourages betrayal even when vulnerable. Guard it like a fortress wall, because once breached, enemies will flood in. In modern life, the fortress is built with different stones. Financial independence is a wall against manipulation. Health is a wall against fatigue and fragility. A strong network of allies forms a wall of collective strength. Without these defenses, even the sharpest mind can be toppled by stress or dependence. You cannot project power if you are financially desperate, physically broken, or socially isolated. Each investment in independence, resilience, and alliances is another stone laid in the fortress. Weak, I'll deal with it when a crisis comes. Strong, I fortify now so crisis never dictates my choices. Your untouchability is built in preparation, not reaction. The innermost wall is emotional invincibility. External strength collapses if the inner core is fragile. When nothing rattles you, you radiate both fear and love. People fear the unpredictability of those who can be provoked. They love the stability of those who remain steady under pressure. Imagine a conflict in a meeting. One voice grows loud, hoping to shake your ground. The fragile path is to snap back, to show anger. The untouchable path is stillness, a measured reply that recenters the room. Calm is not passivity, it is command. The ability to hold your ground without visible strain is the highest wall of your fortress. This is what makes you untouchable. To become untouchable, you must think like a fortress builder. Strengthen the outer walls of reputation. Build modern defenses through independence and resilience. Forge the inner wall of emotional stability. Do this and you no longer need to chase power. It radiates from you. Your presence commands loyalty. Your steadiness inspires love, and your invulnerability commands fear. Be the fortress none can breach. Power wrapped in grace, steel cloaked in velvet. This is the sovereign of duality, the one who holds both fear and love in the same hand. Every principle before has been leading here. The throne of mind secured, the battlefield of dawn conquered, stillness weaponized, weakness executed, the wolf fed, the chessboard mastered, the rituals forged into iron, the fortress built untouchable. Now they converge into the highest form of rulership, the balance of two forces that seem opposed, but in truth complete each other. To embody both feared and loved is to stand as a sovereign whose authority cannot be shaken. History shows us the archetypes who lived this duality. Augustus secured Rome after years of civil war, consolidating power with ruthless control while presenting himself as the restorer of peace. Fear kept rivals silent, love bound citizens to his vision of stability. Elizabeth of I commanded a fragile kingdom, projecting regal strength that intimidated enemies abroad while cultivating loyalty through charisma and calculated mercy at home. Marcus Aurelius, though a philosopher on the throne, embodied discipline and humility while still commanding the respect of soldiers hardened by war. These figures did not collapse into extremes. They navigated the line between respect and dominance, earning devotion while never surrendering authority. The lesson is clear. Balance is not weakness, it is mastery. In modern life, the archetype appears differently, but the pattern remains. CEOs who command industries succeed not just through intelligence, but through their ability to project decisiveness, alongside trustworthiness. Influencers who dominate public imagination combine an aura of authority with a sense of connection. Generals who earn the loyalty of their troops often inspire through both strict discipline and genuine care. If they leaned only on fear, they would rule short but unstable reigns. If they leaned only on love, they would be taken advantage of. By embodying both, they create loyalty that endures and authority that no rival easily challenges. Weak. Hope they like me. Strong. I will be respected first, then valued. Weak. I must dominate at all costs. Strong. I will command while preserving loyalty. The mythical ideal is the sovereign presence that compels both obedience and devotion. Imagine the archetypal king or queen seated on the throne, gaze steady, voice measured, presence so commanding that silence fills the hall. Subjects love the stability they bring, but fear the consequences of betrayal. This is not fantasy. It is the distilled image of leadership that cultures have repeated for centuries because it expresses the truth of human nature. People crave both safety and strength. They long for leaders who are unshakable yet not cruel, firm yet not heartless. The sovereign of duality embodies this paradox, holding the crown with both hands steady. You must take these principles and weld them into your own reign. Rule your mind like a throne council under discipline. Seize mornings like battlefields. Carry silence as a weapon. Cut weakness with the inner assassin. Feed the wolf of action, not the sheep of hesitation. Play life is chess, positioning before striking. Forge will through ritual until it becomes iron. Build your fortress untouchable in reputation, independence, and composure. Then combine them into one sovereign self who commands respect through fear and earns loyalty through love. The sovereign of duality is not a dream. It is a standard. It is what you must become if you want to stand unbroken in a world that tests you daily. Fear without love breeds rebellion. Love without fear breeds exploitation. But fear with love, balanced, deliberate, mastered, creates authority that lasts. Command yourself to embody both, and you will not need to chase power. It will emanate from you like heat from fire. Be both feared and loved, and the crown will never fall. Without mastery, you are prey. In the modern world, the predators are not lions in the field, but deadlines, distractions, demands, and stronger personalities that consume your focus and direction. If you cannot rule yourself, you will be ruled by circumstance. The worker who cannot discipline their time becomes the servant of other people's agendas. The leader who cannot command their emotions becomes a puppet of whoever provokes them. The individual without mastery is swallowed whole by forces they could have resisted. Do not underestimate this danger. It is the fate of many who confuse comfort with safety and indecision with patience. With mastery, the opposite occurs. History shows that rulers who controlled themselves commanded both loyalty and fear. Machiavelli observed that a leader who projects discipline and stability inspires more devotion than one who simply indulges the crowd. When followers believe you cannot be shaken, they respect you. When rivals see you stand firm under pressure, they hesitate to move against you. Love without fear is fragile. Fear without love is volatile. But combined through inner mastery, they create durability. Your power comes not from forcing others into submission, but from holding yourself with such authority that others willingly adjust to your gravity. That is why the sovereign is both feared and loved, because their steadiness cannot be ignored. The throne is waiting. You either sit upon it or are crushed beneath it. This is not a metaphor for fantasy kingdoms, but for your daily life. Every day offers the crown to those who seize it through clarity, discipline, and resilience. Every day punishes those who let the sheep inside rule instead of the wolf. The battlefield is your calendar, your relationships, your responses to conflict. Weak, I'll let things work themselves out. Strong, I'll decide and I'll enforce the decision. Weak, I hope it improves. Strong, I act now to shape the outcome. These are the marching orders of sovereignty. They do not wait for permission. They declare, they move, they hold. Your throne awaits, but no one else will sit on it for you. You must rise, discipline yourself, and rule your realm with balance and precision. Without mastery, you are consumed. With mastery, you inspire loyalty, you command respect, and you radiate a presence both feared and loved. Rule yourself and the world will bow.